I would like to discuss the theme of sexual trauma. Like, for example, I grew up in a few different homes, and in one of them there was this very dominating man, and he was like, I heard he had thrown eggs at my mother and made me eat till I puked, and then she had to clean the floors. And even though I was like 4 years when we moved to that man after a few other people, um, he like had two children of his own, and I was showering myself from bathing, but then suddenly he had to, like, I was in the basement being washed by this man, this boyfriend of my mother. Like, I don't remember, but my mother told me, and that I had started wetting the bed. I only remember this one dream that me and my like stepsister was in these white, church dresses. Not a dress, it's a shortel, but it's I don't know the English word. A very long sleeved and all the way to the feet, like with white. And we were running on the white side of the road in the middle of the night. Only us were present. And I just remember I didn't really feel like comfortable in that place. So I was like 4-year-old. They were building outside of the house. So there was a stilas, like the thing to help the builders stay safe outside. But it's like wooden planks that I used to go out and sit on, and it was like a mountain down to the ocean. So it was actually very like inappropriate, but and we moved from him. But when I grew up, like my mother was obviously very insecure of how far he had went, because he wasn't my most sane man, and I didn't know for a lot of years if I had been molested as a child or not. But on an acid trip, I knew that it wasn't in those terms, and as a 15-year-old, I saw that it wasn't the case. But it's still like a mental downbringing stuff when these are the themes for an innocent child. And as I grew up, because it was actually the first time I remember ever stealing was in that house, and I was in the middle of the night. I just felt rejected a lot by that family and the other kids. And I don't know, I was just doing my own thing. Really rude though. Woke up in the night, walked into my sister's room, took her belly with Lego because I love the horses and stuff there. And I walked into my room and I put it on just on top of the shelf. Like, it was obvious for everyone and easy to see. I don't remember getting yelled at even. I just started with a bad pattern of stealing. Then, even in the first grade of school, like a 6-year-old there was this hole in the fence. I remember just climbing out in there and walking down to the shop, and I stole like this package of bear gummy stuff. And my mother had mentioned once that she had a box of money on top of the stove when I and her lived together alone, and I had just taken this and wanted to go buy some toys. Just like really wanting to be an adult but being just the smallest child. And that was a pattern that I didn't really understand the severity of things. So it got real bad. And as a teenager with a new family, which was very good, but I had gotten bad habits. Um, I was grounded more and more. My mother used it when I was a child also, but I think they like he hadn't had children before, so he very much trusted my mother, and she very much trusted the advice she got from the system in some ways. And yeah, it wasn't very fortunate for me, but it doesn't matter now. I have learned. liked being grounded so much, and after a while, I wasn't even allowed to go pee whenever I wanted, and I couldn't eat dinner with my family because I had screamed at literally just a spider. But things just got really like unfortunate, as I said. And then I was desperate after stimuli for my brain, and my consciousness just wanted to grow. But being in a room by yourself as a child when you want to be outside and playing and just being with your family, or watching movies or painting or whatever, I got so depressed. I really early on started self-harming really bad, and after a while I grew into this like double life of be trying to be this angel during the day so that nobody would ground me too much, but I was usually grounded anyway and couldn't have free time with friends and stuff always. So I just started waking up when everyone had gone to bed, and I just took the computer and I searched the phones of my parents. I just wanted to know things. I wanted to read. I wanted to see what's going on, and I started just growing really addicted to watching horror movies of all things at night as a very young teenager, and so addicted to porn. It was not good. Just talking to like thousands of adults. I probably lied about my age some because I wanted to be loved and appreciated and viewed, like valued and seen and everything. But it was so unhealthy. Obviously, my parents understood it, but for me, doing this because I often got yelled at because I was a handful, I just closed my ears even more because I didn't understand how I could be that bad when I felt like really I'm kind of a good girl, but didn't feel appreciated enough or whatever. I don't really know. So it turned into a very bad habit of like sending lots of videos and photos to people who should never have gotten them. Very I was maybe 12, 13, 14, 15. I was maybe 15 when I stopped doing this because somebody sent me a video of myself back, and I was like, oh, I got the same socks as that girl. And they were like, it's you. And their profile picture was even like a pig mask. So I got really scared by that because people even tried to bring me to pedo rings in Oslo. They had elderly people who didn't show their face but said that they could pay for shoes and clothes and spas and all. I was in foster care then. I was so young. I was very frightened when I was shocked when my phone bill once was paid, and then they tried to book a appointment for me in the city with like a spa, and I understood that this had just gone so way too far, and I had a boyfriend and everything. It was just an addiction. I didn't really understand how this could affect anything else. It's so harmful with the internet in some cases when it's used unhealthily and it's available and everything is there, and it's for like the youngest ones as well. So that was like me traumatizing myself sexually in some way, but because I didn't know better, I was believing a lot of awful stories about how things really was connected when they weren't. And at the same time, like when I had run away from home twice because I was struggling with communication and these things. And as I started getting another home to be in for 6 months, I was every weekend or something meant to be at my aunt's and uncle's house, and I was so grateful for that because they were the ones I actually ran to the second time. But little did I know that my uncle had also been severely abused. He doesn't even admit to it, but I just gotten so many confirmations that there is something to it because his other family members are saying that his mother abused him, but he says that it's not true. And he started molesting me basically from the first time we ever were alone. And he was just saying basically that, hey, someone is quitting at the job that I have. He was very proud of finally having like a big job because he had been maybe like a drug addict or something in his life. But I didn't know too much about them things as a very young teen. And so we were with his children in the car, and he said, I know a very big funny joke that would be good, but I can't say it now. I was like, whatever. And we went to the shop and we went back home. And then he said at the house, you don't want to come see my job, huh? And I could sense he was so proud. So I just wanted to like be grateful for them taking me in and all of that. So I said, yeah, of course. Not that I really was interested because I didn't have those cares. But then in the car, he said, it would be very funny to have a cute girl and take a photo of her in his office as like a goodbye gift, and you can have 500 kroners. And I was smoking cigarettes and I had no uh, economy by myself because I was just in school and stuff. So I realized that's harmless because photos was like my thing, and they had been warned by my family and the child protective services about that anyway. But now he just, I was shaking the 4 floors to walk up because I felt like this is not really good, is it? And my legs were like, ooh. And when we came up and we got into there, and it was very awkward, he said like, just take off your clothes. And I was like, for real? I didn't say anything. I just looked at him and I just felt like very unsafe and insecure, and I just did what he said. And I wish I never would have, because that was like the cue of him thinking that it was okay to do even more. But yeah, it was only those photos then, and then he got like fallen in love with like, especially my breast area. So he, every time my aunt was going to drive me to either a birthday party or home to my foster parents or anywhere, he was like, 3 to 5 minutes before leaving, he said like, "Oh, honey, just relax. I can do this for you. I can take care of the driving. You can just thank you for being you and stuff." And it was when she left the living room, he was like, "Oh, touching the thigh," and I was always frozen. But when I talked, I was like, "Yeah. Did you know that this football gamer that like I don't know, I was just babbling about whatever I could to get the focus away and try to be happy, but it got sort of worse and worse, and it started with him stopping the car to jerk off on the other side of the car on my tits and forcing my head and sticking his tongue down my throat to like make out, and uh he stopped like in the woods outside of the road and stuff. I felt like he could have killed me if he wanted to, or like closing the doors of the car. And I just became like just doing what people said way too much in my life then. And I hated cheating. I was like, he was like, "Can I give you 10,000 kroners to fuck you in the ass or whatever?" And I was like, "No, no, can't you just buy my fucking aunt a bouquet of flowers? Can't you be happy with her?" But no, he said you've fallen in love and it would be easier to use a whore. And, or if it was the neighbor lady, it even would have been easier. And it's just, whatever, dude, now that I'm grown up. But yeah, it lasted for like 1.5 years or something, and I got a boyfriend in the middle of that time at school, and he just, when I got drunk, one night, he just realized that something is really off, and he asked, And the same day I met my uncle and he said, yeah, we probably have a lot of bad consciousness. And I said, we? And then I went back to my boyfriend and I laid on the grass and I was just crying hysterically. And he just was talking home with his parents about this because he was actually hitting the wall of frustration, not knowing what was wrong with me. And he tried to make me call the police, but I was severely traumatized. And I thought because my aunt was like my saving angel at the time, after running away and her taking me in, I was terrified of losing the one person that I really had. And I didn't know that I could tell an adult man to fuck off. Or that I could tell anybody else and they would help me. It was not a thought in my mind at all after all those years being grounded and yelled at on the internet and stuff. But one night the first time I smoked cannabis was in the basement of my uncle's house, and it was like a big newspaper thing pipe, and I just fell down to the floor after the first hit, and I don't remember him carrying me up the stairs. Like I was mm, I had I was 5 centimeters lower and more wide and much more fat and big tits and stuff. So I don't understand how anyone could have lifted me up there. But anywho, suddenly I was in the couch and he was like sucking on my toes and using his fingers and licking and all of that. I was hard to keep my head up. And one of the times, like I was during those 1.5 years, I was celebrating New Year's Eve at my cousin's house, but my uncle and my aunt they drove me there, and I was so exhausted by all of that abuse. So when I got there, I didn't really know people too much, but I was like, "Can I please get a sip of your drink?" So I was rudely asking, and I got so drunk and I passed out. And one of the things was I was laying down on the floor of the bathroom and I couldn't lift my head. I could barely see something. And then somebody was trying to like penetrate me, dragging my underwears off. And my cousin actually opened the door and he just hit him so hard in the face. That's a good memory, but not really because there were also 3 other guys that figured out that it was okay to fuck me while I was like conscienceless. And when I got home from that party, they had humped me so hard that I had puked and been fucked, and I had to wash my hair about 7 to 8 times to try to get the carrot and like vegetable fibers from my puke out from my hair because it had been. So, and when they got and picked me up, and we were at the shop a day later, my uncle snuck behind one of the shop. There are aisles, and in between one of the aisles, he said, "I heard you're a dirty girl. You had yourself with 4 people." That's basically when I heard that people had been in me, except from that one guy that my cousin hit. And another time I was doing a little bit of Valium and ecstasy and stuff as like a 17-year-old or something, 18, 19, 18. And I had a boyfriend and I loved him very dearly, but he had impregnated someone before we got together, and he was much older than me. And we were like smoking cannabis and stuff, but it was never the same like such of stuff. It's so weird. How do we continue doing what has been wrong to us? It's fucked up. We're just trying to conquer what was wrong someday. But I don't know. But I was very stressed out about like I am too young to be a stepmother because I don't know how to anything right now. So I was heading to one of my buds. I thought one of them was my best buds, but they were just. So I actually stole a few Valiums then and I took them. So I was really sedated, but I was present and I was aware. And then I think I gave my one friend some money for buying ecstasy because I used to take it at the time. It was very depressing helping. Hei. Ja, så hyggelig å se deg. Ja. Jobber med litt terapi. Ja, takk. It was just someone at the door, but okay. Um, but what they did was take this money and go to another town and get GHB, and they came back and I didn't know what it was, and I was served it, and then I was out. And what I remember next, like my boyfriend had looked for me that night and he had heard weird sounds from the window and he was pissed that I didn't answer, but I was blacked out. And I woke up in a chair in like, yeah, there was a big chair there and my legs were split and my underwear were on the wrong way. Easy to see. And I said, "What have you done?" And they said, "Nothing, nothing." But I know better. And I'm not happy about that. And after that, I really had a hard time trusting most people. I was getting overly insecure and jealous, and not really jealous like that, but not secure with my boyfriend around other girls, thinking like whatever can go down, like. And we were literally kinky, me and him, but it didn't last for too long, unfortunately. Or that's what's meant to be is meant to be, and he's a good friend still. But though that the point of this tale was those things. But that one of my best friends, he said that your mother and your boyfriend are probably fucking, and I just believed him immediately because of my own traumas. And then I took some pills I had never taken before, and I went out on town, and I managed to go and fuck one of the friends of my boyfriend. And I didn't dare to look my boyfriend in the eyes for a week, and I was just out in the park crying and like, it's all over. But it actually got fixed, but it didn't because I started doing amphetamine and I was just crazy. But not as crazy as it could have been, but It sucks because my mother has experienced so much of this and it's happening to me, has happened so much to me. And my uncle, he rejected. There was a trial because the Child Protective Services got a hold of this after my boyfriend's parents forced me to tell my foster parents. I had like 3 days or else they would, and 3 days plus an hour or something where I had like followed my foster parents around. I finally just dropped a bomb and I was like, I need to say something. And I don't even know how I managed to, but that was like 12:30 at night and like 7:30 in the morning. My foster mother had a best friend that was a lawyer and she was already on the case. But she was very unprofessional, showing up to the wrong court place and talking about her expensive watch when I was trying to listen to the trial. But I am not meaning to bash. It was just, in my experience, I didn't feel secure in those things. But I cherish those people. I never mean anything wrong against foster parents and friends. I promise. But it was a very hard time. Somebody stood up for me and somebody was the opposite. And it was like 2 trials. He got 1.5 months in jail and I got 80,000 kroner, and it meant nothing. I still struggle with these things. When people, I'm in rehab now, when people go into the door to check me at night 2 to 3 times. And he did go into my room just to jerk off when I was sleeping and I was screaming and nobody heard and everything. Like, had to lock my door to go to shower. And he was just knocking and knocking like a craziest horny bastard. And now after he rejected my testimony and stuff. Later on, a few years later, I heard that he had raped his daughter, and that when the police came, I don't know if the detail is, but that's what I heard, that he had rejected and his wife rejected it because she is afraid of losing him, and he's playing her around the finger or something, or they are one, I don't know. But he had fucked his daughter, and there was semen on the fucking. Not too bad, but you know. This. And so she got also into foster care another way. And I finally got a message from her, and I hope to see her. But I have to share my story right now, and I know that's also something she is wondering. So I'm also sharing this for you. But he told me, because I sent so much hate, and I hate to be angry at people. So when I walked past, there was a few times we just walked past each other, and it was very weird to see each other. But there was one time when I was sober at an island, and I was watching in a bonfire. And then I saw the Eye of Horus, or the Eye of Ra, maybe Ra, I think. And it turned into my uncle's eye, and he said, "You know, we'll see each other when we get back home." And I felt very stupid because I was like, that's kind of divine to come with an eye in a bonfire. I didn't even take drugs that time, so it's definitely real. And that made me drop the hatred towards men, even though I was very hurt. But yeah. So I walked past his house once, and I stopped and I said, "I'm sorry for sending you so much anger, and I wish you the best." But he ended the conversation of saying, "Well, my daughter is sick, and I would still like to see your tits, so I'm not gonna stop talking there again." And for his daughter's sake, he, I mean, if he was raped and he can't be honest about it, and he does the same to get some other reaction that what people gave when he grew up, this is like a natural cyclist to end the curses of the generations, and it's a very major thing, and it costs us, but it gives. I just want to take the one example of like the village where there was one rapist and one victim, and the whole village gathered together, heard the story, and they got the offender in the middle of a circle, and one after one they all was going to hug each other. No, hug each other, hug the offender, like deep soul, deep spirit shit, like a hug of anger, but a hug of forgiveness from every single one of everyone you know. I think that can heal a whole lot, yes. So I think for anyone to get healthy, they need to get guidance and help to get there. Oh, dude, it's taken such a long time to get past these things, but I'm 27 now. It's not the same anymore. One man that I love deeply, this is not the same, just to say if anyone else experienced the same, there's different perspectives. One of the people who took very much care of me growing up had lost someone very close and got very drunk one night, and we were hugging, but then like he needed some his body's instinctual things is like when things is hard we cuddle or something, so it was like grabbing my teeth and stuff, and I was very compassionate because I love him so dearly, and I was like, hey, life has really prepared me for handling stuff like this, but enough is enough. And he didn't mean to, I know, and he has never done it again. And it's not what this is about. I love him so dearly. I don't want for anyone to know who I am meaning right now because that's so irrelevant. It's for every other person in similar situations to cope with this. Because I knew he had lost the love of his life to cancer. And he was suicidal. He really wanted to shoot himself in the head. He was honest. For the first time, we were more drunk with each other than ever. And then that happened. And I stayed there to guard him all through the night and all through the morning because I needed to check if he was safe and okay. One of the first, before I even lost my virginity, I was like flirting with this one guy at like Christian after school stuff. And it was really just like in the start of puberty, so hormones were driving wild, you know. I just like, oh, and we walked for a trip, but suddenly he just threw me down on really like on the rocks. Not even grass or sand or anything, but on rocks, like juiced. And he pulled my pants down and he tried to enter me, but I wasn't wet or anything, you know. So I just, yeah, I twirled around and got away from the situation. And then I was just smiling and still being like loving and kind and polite. Even though I didn't really like the situation, we walked and suddenly it happened that he was licking me on top of a fucking gravestone. So things been weird and sick, and it's uh not proud moment because I had sent pictures of myself, which is like you are tough behind the screen, right? But would you do that in reality? No. And one of my friends, like, we took ecstasy and we were just relaxing, and suddenly he just took his finger in between of me, and it's so gross. Like it's the least thing you want as a girl is just to be assaulted in any way. It's turn off the looks. And I lost that friend, sort of. I never spoke to him again, really. Yeah, he was at a party, but he stepped on my rabbit even, and my then boyfriend was actually saying, "You did step on Albert." And I felt like, okay, it's not really. And I had a stripping pole, but it was just lights and stuff. But he hit it so hard it fell. He was angry coming to my party, being like a fucking jackass. But I wish him the best also. I just hope it's not a pattern that repeats itself. Mm, it's been so much weird stuff, dude. Like growing up, we just did whatever people told us to do on the internet when we were young girls because we didn't know what sex was or love or anything. We just knew that we were changing and maturing and we wanted to be seen and we always want compliments, you know, everyone sort of, if it's real, but we didn't know it wasn't that real. So once, like a military dude just said, "Mm, we were just video chatting with him. It was so normal, just showing your tits and video chat and chat roulette and like just completely hilarious and stupid and not too healthy. But that time, this military dude was like, can't you just have some liquor chatter and stuff? And we just did do that. And remember I was not into girls, so I was basically almost puking. But she actually said it was my first girl sex time. And she was like, "You have done this before. You're very good at that." It was like a little bit of ego boost, but I was like, that ain't true. We did so many weird stuff. And now, 1 year ago, 1.5 year ago, I was in rehab for 10 days because the system said you will not get money for food if you don't listen to us. And when I came in there, they said, like, what? They are lying to you. You don't have to be here. But before I left, one of them said, "You have had a lot of traumas with men. You should probably go have sex with a girl." And I was laughing because she was a very beautiful, kind woman. But afterwards, I was like a little bit insulted and thinking, like, that's so highly unprofessional to say to someone in rehab, which is like in a very vulnerable state. But okay, I don't mean to judge. It's my perception of these things I'm giving you now. And yeah, I was with a man that I was really not supposed to be with for a long while. And that was some scary ass sex. And I cheated and I hate my. I would wish I never had done that. But I didn't know how to put down like I didn't know how to. And when I learned, my relationship was over anyway and stuff because he was searching so much porn of looking at as young as possible teens like I was when I was young. And I hated the fact, and I don't ever want to really talk to him again here in the physical realm. But I am so grateful for all the other help that he has given me because that's more worth than words can describe. Thank you, peace. But still, fucking heck. Uh, so after that relationship was done, and I was really wanting to have him, but not, and luckily it didn't turn out that way. Glory be to God. But still, I was like a nun for the first time for 1.5 years then, until August this year. And suddenly I realized that the one person I had the best sex with ever was an old neighbor, which, like a previous neighbor, I mean. And then I got like a pregnancy scare, but I was drinking and smoking a bit heavily, so that's why I really went to rehab now also to see how to be more mature and healthy, not coping all on myself, all by myself. But he also has not answered my calls, and luckily it wasn't anything. But yeah, things get fucked up when someone fucks too much with just pleasing themselves, to say the least. And there's a big difference between sex and love, and different levels of abuse and those things. We don't really need to talk about this anymore. The point is a whole lot that it's important to tell the details from what you have experienced. Because when you are closing your emotions inside, they will come and bite you in the ass one day. Or somebody else. Because hurt people hurt people. But when you have processed this with enough experiences and help from other people and conversations and advice, when you can say something out loud and put it into words, that's when you really have realized what was that all about. And from the hell to the heavens, or the half to the whole, or the negative to the positive, there is always both in everything. But yeah, I think the most important thing is just putting in closure to it, knowing that you are not dirty. You don't have to be washed clean. It's just energy. It's memories, it's energy, it's healing trauma, it's breaking patterns. Every girl and every boy, whatever. We need to know we need to stand up for ourselves and put boundaries and use our voice. Don't ever freeze, flee, maybe fight. You know, in my trial, they were like, "Why didn't you scream, hit him, kick him?" And I was like, "I didn't know I could." I don't even think I could say that. I was just crying hysterically. And that's not a fair trial to put young people or any people through. Like, put yourself in that position. I know that people have suffered through a lot of strange situations, and I don't wish it upon anyone. I wish for us to be a healthy, good people, serving God the Almighty, being good, not doing anything that ruins anything for other people. You One basically just ruins one's own life, if that's the dealio. And I just wish for everyone to be strong in themselves and stand up for themselves. And the cure against trauma is building good memories about them things, being able to laugh at some things, being able to really react like, that's disgusting, but I'm still okay. I'm still moving forward, I'm still standing up, getting up every day, still finally manage to eat more like normally, and don't have to use any drugs to sober it down, but or sober it down to calm your emotions. Just have to take the emotions for what they are, because it's the truth, it's the realness, and just acceptance is very important. And one theory here: what if the mother who abused my uncle, who abused me and his daughter, is really his daughter also, which she then abuses, which finishes the whole cycle of the circus, which means that because she's much younger than me, and I was feeling so sorry for her, and I was pissed when I heard this news. But she said, I don't need for anyone to pity me. I was like, that's extremely mature for a young child girl to say. And not until that's a few years ago, not until this year, when me and my best friend was sitting in her car, and she said, we were talking about like relationships and everything, like homelessness and all we are going through. And we agreed that, okay, we will stop pitying ourselves. There's no need for that, and it only makes things worse. So from now on, we're finding solutions. And she said that a few years ago, and I was thinking, how can any of this be good? And the only theory I have, it is that she was born not only for that, but a whole lot to fix them traumas so that they don't spread more and don't repeat itself. And that she knows this in the depth of her soul, so that's why she can like cope with it and take it that much. But it's a bit far-fetched, but I think it can be something to it, because even though the mother is not dead, or I don't know yet, and or the mother was alive and the granddaughter was alive for a long time at the same time, they can still be big parts of the same soul, like with the mission of ending them things. And that's what I hope for, it being such a good thing with it, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't really want to focus on this anymore. It's not like I'm not bothered that much, but it drains me a lot, and I just see details I don't want to see. Dumb things, like, it's nasty. So we'll put the end here, but everyone else who has experienced the same. Also, one big thing. I saw a group on Facebook once, and I saw a girl I know that said she had been raped, or she was interested in a group where when you have been raped, but you, not that you liked it, but you don't know why there was something good about it or something. Like when my uncle was done with me, I was terrified and frozen a lot of the time, and then suddenly I lost completely like perspective of what was going on, because life had been quite rough, and suddenly, because it lasted for a while and I had been just unable to move, and I raised my hand and I grabbed his head. I think I even moaned. And I said, is this love? Because I had no fucking clue. after all of that. Once in the car when he was doing his thing, my boyfriend helped me record that stuff. And yeah, it wasn't exactly to say that any of it happened voluntarily. I just want for anyone to know, if you have been through the same and you're feeling dirty and bad and it has hurt and it has been the most awful and disgusting stuff, but still you cared for that person. There's always, like, unless it's a blindly rape on the street or something, it's usually somebody that you know. And because of it being somebody that you know and we having to be whole cyclists, all of them bad emotions is like that and you freeze, and all of what else, it comes in a fractal of a good feeling anyway. It's just natural, but it's awful. It doesn't happen always. It happened that one time, and all the other times it was just hell. And especially being by oneself, then cutting oneself, puking in the shower, just like not being able to tell anyone. If anyone knows such things going on, tell. Go talk to the person and say, this is so severe, it's not supposed to happen and you need help. No matter the situation. My best advice is just own your shit, no matter if you are the victim or the offender, to find solutions. And forgiveness is easier to reach if you wholeheartedly really don't want to hurt anybody. But if you are that much of a psychopath or that sick and need help also, just... And I think actually my uncle got the trial cancelled with his daughter because I think they manipulated her into, like, they're her family and they don't want to see her mother and father. It's like, what the fucking games are they playing? But no, they just don't know better right now. And the best thing that we can do really is to pray for them and send them the energy, hoping that they will open their eyes also. And yeah, so we will see each other when we get home. But are you proud of what you did? Like, you would do it again, basically, you almost said, and you reject what was worse that you did. So I know you are struggling and in problems in your own personal hell. So better just pick yourself up and stand for what you've done and live your life out and live a new life and live a few lives and then get this back. Become better by doing better. And to the victims, just take care of yourselves so that your hurts will not affect everyone around you in your life, so that you will not sit alone in the end, having pushed everyone away because you don't trust them or whatever. It's so important, and we got this. We can make it through anything. Sexual trauma, sexual healing. I had sex with with a my ex's ex best friend's best friend mother last time. There was this pregnancy scare, and then I was making out with, like, the one friend there. I was taking a lot of ecstasy again. That's not. I bit my lip like. Oh, it was gigantic. But it was like a magical kiss. But I'm really liking celibacy when I'm not in a relationship, because I need that time for myself. And I just want to give my all to the very one that deserves it, that I have a connection with. I haven't done that too much. But yeah, the last man that I love and almost got pregnant by, he doesn't call me back. So I got so sad, and I was just doing a little drugs and hanging with friends. And then I was making out, and then I was suddenly having girl sex, which it is not really that satisfying for me, but I get too much of an ego boost when someone say I'm great in bed, even though I'm not really like that compatible inside of myself, like feeling that pleasure. I don't come by it. But it's fun to bring someone up anyway. I love the woman, but it's like I left her there alone. I left some pizza and some smoke I thought she had gotten some bears, but she said no. But that's very strange because I know 3 bears were gone. But then I just had to leave, and I was buying myself like a few bears before going to a boat and sitting and chilling. And then I figured like, oh shit, Buddhism. It's about time to just finding new ways to cope. And then back to non-business celibacy. I was sort of wishing that I could have been pregnant, but when I was maybe being pregnant by somebody who doesn't even want to call me on the phone, and his mother really don't like me too much, it's not meant to be, and I won't chase after it anymore either. It hurts too much, and I will just take care of myself. And I'm receiving help, and I've finally gotten in touch with my mother and my father and my brothers in a few years maybe. And I'm quite done being in and out of psychosis. There was just so much triggers and so much to having to deal with. But this thing right here really helps me, and I really, if it can help anybody else, it's already worth it. But then it's worth it. We have learned so many things to cope with things better, and it's absolutely like magical what qualities we get by having been through hell. We just like get to be an even better angel, really, because of all the perspectives and all the care we have and share. I don't I don't judge too much anymore. I was really hateful and really despiteful and all of them things, and really letting it go, like cutting myself deeply. Like it's stupid to do when other people hurt you. Just use your words. You have to put it into words and not do all of that other stuff. I wish the best to everybody, no matter who you are. There is cause and effect. There is a reason for everything. If you did a mistake, you can still be forgiven and helped and get out of that situation. But you are the only one who can make the choice and do it. And if you have been a victim once or twice or too many times, anyway, one is too many, but everyone is in different ways. Just know that that stuff, that shit, it does not define you. Being defiled does not define you, obviously, but when we have been, we really truly believe that for a little while. That we will never be good enough, or never get a perfect husband, or never have like a normal life, and always just like intense. But that's bullshit. It gets better with time. Trust the process. Either this shall pass, or it will turn out for the better. So we are just all in for the betterment of all, the highest good for all. Go team.